Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Market Watch video. Again, as always, if you appreciate these, please do subscribe to the channel, it really does help me out. We have a lot of influence still after the recent release of Streets of New Capenna, as well as the influence coming out of Battle for Baldur's Gate. I think those two sets are really going to impact the cards you're seeing the most. As is typical for more recent sets, what people are playing tends to dictate the market. So let's look at the first card here. This is the biggest gainer of the week, and that is Lethal Scheme. This 4-mana instant speed black spell is a convoke, which means that you can tap creatures to pay for its cost, which is usually just the generic mana. So if you have 2 creatures, you can tap it to pay the generic mana cost, so that it will only cost you that 2 black mana. You destroy target creature or planeswalker. Each creature that convoked Lethal Scheme connives. I feel like this is very temporary. We have a lot of 4-mana black spells, even if it does have the convoke. I don't really feel like it does quite enough to stand out. Connive is pretty cool, but chances are you're just going to be playing this to get rid of a creature or a planeswalker, and in that case we do have 4-mana spells that exile creatures, so there's plenty of competition for 4-mana kill spells. As you can see looking at the chart, it's getting close to $10, but it's looking like it's going to settle below. Still a pretty impressive gain if we're just talking about gains over the week. The next card is one that's been out for quite some time, going back to 2017 in Amonkhet. Oketra's Monument, just over the past week, has gone from a $2 card to now over $5. This isn't really a surprise to me because I've always believed that these monuments from Amonkhet were really good, especially Oketra's Monument, Bantu's Monument. The fact that they've never been reprinted is actually kind of shocking, because Wizards will go out of their way to reprint pretty much everything else in recent memory. I don't know why they haven't even considered touching these yet. White creature spells costing 1 less to cast off of a 3-mana artifact is very tame, it's very safe, it's far from being broken, and it would be an easy auto-include in a lot of pre-con decks. So the fact that it's getting above $5 now, the market price is $5.21, I think that's pretty incredible. And then we have another card that I've recommended in my Commander Pickups video, Vengeful Ancestor. It's now seeing above $2, the market value is $2.44. I never thought this was going to be a big money card, but I think what it does is enough for people to want to seek it out if they have more of a goad focused strategy. Goad is a mechanic that I think Wizards of the Coast, they've really been trying to focus on. That's why I said Vengeful Ancestor is such a good buy, because for a long time now it's been under $1. And all it does is just synergize with Goad. So it enters, it attacks, you goad a creature. Whenever goaded creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to its controller, so you're really forcing them to attack, and you're also going to be dealing them a ton of damage. So this card is sick. It's a 3/4 flyer for 4 mana, so all around it's a solid card. If you told me that within the year it's going to be a $10 card, I wouldn't be surprised. Next up we have Niv Mizzet Perun. This was a loser last week, right? You just look at the chart. We came off of a significant rejection there at the $4 mark, but now it's claimed $4 and now it's looking to claim $5. So that's really good. That's really promising, because Niv Mizzet is a great commander option. It's a great card as one of the 99. All around, you get this creature out on the field, you're going to have a pretty decent control of the board. And I didn't really expect it to do this well. So I know we've been talking about a recession lately, but it does look like we're not getting hurt that badly. We see a lot of cards here recovering pretty well. We get Captain Lannery Storm. This is one that's kind of a head scratcher for me, because I thought it was a decent creature if you're looking to focus on a treasure strategy, but in and of itself, I don't think it's really a $5 card, just because I know we have Ragavan, and that's a highly sought after card for more competitive strategies. This is 3 mana. It does something very similar. I don't think it's anywhere nearly as powerful, but it's getting above $6. And Ixalan was 5 years ago, and a lot of cards have changed in 5 years. A lot of cards have been impacted by the market differently. I don't know, it's just weird seeing Captain Lannery Storm being over $6, when for the majority of the time it's been out, it's been a bulk rare. But then again, treasure strategies have only been improved over the years, so no doubt, Captain Lannery Storm is going to have a spot in a lot of those decks. I just never really thought that coming out of Ixalan, this would be a card that would hold any significant value. And then we have Hungry Lynx from Commander 2017. We're talking about the same year here. The only printing of the card, I'm less surprised by this because it is a Commander product, and if you want to have more of a cat-focused strategy, I think this would be a go-to. I really couldn't tell you why, though, that it's going up. It might be because of the cats from New Capenna, but I don't really see a lot of people going, I need that Hungry Lynx so it can create rat tokens that when we kill them, we get +1/+1 counters on each cat we control. It's a very odd card. I understand why it's flavorful, you know, cats killing rats. But you go back to 2019 and before, it wasn't really worth much of anything. So this is a very interesting week because we're seeing a lot of different cards that we know for certain aren't supposed to do that well, that are actually defying expectations. And then we have Ledger Shredder. This is another gainer that's been continuing to climb above 20. We go back to a couple weeks ago, we've been talking about Ledger Shredder. It has a very attractive ability. It's only a 2-mana creature, and it can continue to grow in power and toughness. So this is something that I think could see play in Modern. It could even see some play in Legacy. I mean, if people are willing to play Tarmogoyf, I think the chances are, for only 2 mana, this creature getting a +1/+1 counter on just about every turn is going to be very appealing to the average Modern player. I think even Commander players would want something like a Ledger Shredder, because Connive is more than just a way to get +1/+1 counters on a creature. You're also drawing and discarding. We also have Capital Punishment because of the Commander option to Vit, and I haven't really seen a ton of influence from this specific Commander option. Again, this is one of those cases where you know there's a direct synergy, but there just isn't enough support for that Commander option just yet. So Capital Punishment being one of the few good cards that will allow every player to vote, that directly synergizes with our Commander option, people are going to want it for that deck. So it's getting around $5, which is, you know, pretty good. It's reaching about where it reached its all-time high before around Strixhaven. I think people are going to be looking for it more often now because there is a Commander that will take advantage of it. And then we have Unlicensed Hearse. This is continuing its climb. It is now above $6. I think we were around the $4 to $5 mark last week, and it's just trucking along. You know, it's the little engine that could. It's a solid card. I think people are starting to recognize it has playability well outside of Standard. It has playability even outside of Pioneer. It has playability in Commander and Legacy. A 2-mana artifact that can tap to exile up to 2 cards from a single graveyard each turn is very valuable, even if you're not crewing it for a pretty decent power and toughness. Artifacts that are this cheap that are going to continue to have an impact mid to late game and hurt graveyard decks. It's not even legendary, so you can have multiple unlicensed hearses out there and just constantly hate on your opponent's decks. It's wonderful. Now we get to talk about some losers, and surprise, surprise, we have the wonderful Commander lands from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. These were originally printed in Battle Bond, and since then, I mean, people have really wanted them. But these reprints are definitely not going to be anywhere near the price that you saw for those Battle Bond lands. We're talking ones that were worth $20 to $25. Expect to see them in more precon products as well. And as should be the case, you know, when you buy a precon deck, you shouldn't just get a Guild Gate and a tap land that maybe gains you 1 life. You should get something quality like a Luxury Suite. It's not super expensive. If we have dual lands on the reserve list that we're never going to see again, we should at least get something relatively valuable that's going to make our playing experience a bit smoother. Then we have Deadly Dispute. To no one's surprise, you know, a $4 to $5 common, getting a reprint would tank its value. So now it's heading down to around the $2 level. It's a great card. I mean, if you're playing a black deck and your focus is on sacrificing creatures for their abilities, Deadly Dispute has been a favorite. It also allows you to sacrifice artifacts too, which is something that is more common with more recent black spells. But in addition to drawing 2 cards, which was typical with these spells, you also get to create a treasure token, which is pretty unique, although it is more typical of recent years with treasure token support. This is pretty good news in my opinion because I don't think there were many of us that were investing in Deadly Dispute. It was a common, we probably all should have known that it would get reprinted. So for this original print from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, which just came out last year, I think getting below $3 was definitely a good thing. And we get the continuation of the Battle Bond Lands news. We have Morphic Pool here. Again, gonna float around the $10 mark. A lot of these were a bit more expensive for a while. We had gone about 4 years since Battle Bond, so it does make sense that we would receive a reprint and the value of the lands overall would go down. Sea of Clouds, again, is no exception, still around the $10 mark. Again, none of these lands were going to be an exception. Battle for Baldur's Gate was going to lower them all pretty evenly. And the last card for the day, the last loser as well, is Sidisi, Undead Vizier. This is a pretty alarming one because as you can see looking at the chart, it's reaching a low that it had not reached before since before 2020. So this card that was above $10 at the beginning of the year is now under $5. I really don't know why because it hasn't been reprinted recently. We're not talking about Streets of New Capenna or Battle for Baldur's Gate. So for it to suddenly tank well below 5, I mean, we're talking a pretty significant downfall here, is kind of a head scratcher. It's a great card. For a long time, Runescar Demon was the standard when it came to entering the battlefield and letting you search your library like a demonic tutor. Sidisi Undead Vizier came around in 2015 and said, you know what? I can do the same thing but for 2 less mana, and you just have to sacrifice a creature instead. And for the decks where you wanted to sacrifice a creature and that was actually beneficial to your strategy, Sidisi was better. So for it to get this low, I think we're going to want to look back at this next week, just because I think it is significant. This is a very good card in the Commander format, and I would like to see where we are a week from now or 2 weeks from now, and if this does remain under $5, I think I might have to recommend buying it. So anyway, let me know what you think about this week for the Market Watch. As always, if you have not, please do subscribe to the channel. Commander Void here. I will see you all next time.